All right.
Do I look presentable, or should I take the
I
glasses
think you
off?
look quite presentable.
Yeah.
I only have you from the chest up,
Okay.
and we have Lynn.
Is
And
my hair combed? What
Your
hair I
hair.
have left?
Your hair is awesome. All right, we're rolling.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Action.
And here we go. This took place approximately 4 years ago. And when Dorothy was in, I think it's in Jupiter, at Boyd's timeshare. And I came up to visit, and we were drinking coffee, and Dorothy is not my sister-in-law, she's my sister. And this has been going on for many years, and I've known Dorothy for many years. And as a result, something happened that day, and Tracy called and spoke with Dorothy for a few minutes. And Dorothy said, by the way, Uncle Fred is here, would you like to talk with him? And the next thing, she said, oh, okay, goodbye. So I said, Dorothy, what's this all about? And she said, well, Tracy thinks that you talk too much. And I was devastated.
You weren't.
I was. Lynn, and then when I got home from that trip up there, I called you and I asked you, do you feel that I talk too much as well? And you said, yes. It's not funny.
It's funny because.
It's not funny. Because now I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this.
Okay.
Now, I think I called Beth. And for those of you who don't know, there's Beth, Lynn, and Tracy. BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. That's my 3 favorite nieces, who happen to be my only nieces. And I think if I did talk with Beth, that I felt a little bit hurt that my 3 favorite nieces felt that I talked too much. And this happened about a year after I retired. And my retirement was a major aspect of my life because I kept busy. You know, I felt like I worked 26 hours a day. And I devoted my whole life to that job, and I neglected my family. I really believe I did. Because that job was very important to me. And so for 39 and a half years, I worked my ass off, and I loved every minute of it. But I missed my family. And then I thought, at some point in time, I have to sit down with the family and let them know why I talk as much as I do.
And we're waiting. We're waiting for.
I'm getting there. I'm
Okay.
getting there.
Sorry, it's taking a
You
long
have to
time.
understand.
It's taking a
Lynn,
long time, yes.
You have to understand, at the time I was 74 years old.
Yes.
And I had to think, you know, my
I don't-
thought process has slowed down over the years.
Yeah, I don't know if
And then
you
I got
just
to,
started that.
and then I got to thinking, and it's only in the last couple of months when I started planning this trip up here to Pennsylvania, that I had to address this with my 3 nieces, my 3 favorite nieces. Skip, you understand where I'm going with this, right?
I'm following along
Yeah.
so far.
Okay, and
Do
Yeah.
you know what the
started-
rest of the story is gonna be?
Not
No.
sure.
No,
No.
no idea.
No idea. But
Nobody knows it.
Okay.
Not even Chip.
Look
Do
at
you,
him.
Chip?
Good boy. He's listening.
the first time
And I
ever
gave
revealed.
it, I gave it some thought, and I got to thinking that I started out as a little chubby kid in Brooklyn on East 3rd Street, and the neighbors referred to me as Porky, because I was a little chubby kid. And then when I was about 11 or 12, we moved to upstate New York, to Gloversville, New York, and I saw real snow for the first time. So that was a major change in my life. So I went from being little Porky in Brooklyn to being this almost teenager in Gloversville, New York. And that was a major change. It had some effect on me. I left Gloversville, we moved back to New York, and Dad told us that we were moving to Long Island. And I thought, whoa, Long Island. And it turned out it was Jamaica, Queens, which isn't Long
Not quite
Island.
the same. Okay.
No, but it was another change, and now I went to Erasmus High School in Brooklyn for 1 year. Now I went to Jamaica High School in Long Island, New York. And we lived right across the street from an area called Jamaica Estates. Who it happens, there was a family who lived in Jamaica Estates named Trump. And Donald Trump and Fred Trump were guys who were about 8 or 9 years younger than I was. I didn't know them.
Huh.
But I believe
Wow.
that if they
I
had
did not expect the Trump turn in
if
the
they
story.
had gone to Jamaica High School, where I went, that the younger Trump, the Donald Trump, right across from the school, if ever any of the students in Jamaica High School had a disagreement, they would have a fight. And they would meet at the flagpole in front of Jamaica High School, and they'd have a fight. And the loser would get thrown into this pond across the street from the school, which was called Goose Pond. And I know that if Donald went to Jamaica High School, he'd have been thrown into Goose Pond. So this was another change in my life. Now I'm a teenager. A lot of my friends at age 20, 21 were getting married. So I decided, I might as well get married too. I've been a best man about 9 times. So this was another change. And what happened is that now when I look back, I realize that I reinvented myself several times by the time I turned 21. And then I went to school, and Dad had a candy store in Jamaica. And I learned to be a soda jerk. And Dad told me I made a very good
Very good soda?
soda jerk.
Yeah? You make it?
But
yeah.
that too, Dad showed some recognition, because they used to have parades there. He always said, I want Freddie behind the counter, because he's good. So I felt good about it. So this was another change in my life. So I reinvented myself again. Dad likes me. And then I went to school, and I worked in the construction field as a surveyor. And I worked my way up to supervising high-rise construction work. And I was proud of myself, and back in those days, I was recently married to wife number 1. And this was about the third change in my life. It was like the third new life that I began. And I worked at that for a while, and we divorced about 7 years later. And now I was a divorced man. So I reinvented myself again. Now I'm divorced, and I'm separated from my child and my wife. And I went to work in Pittsburgh on a construction project. And then I went to work in Boston, and I met a woman in Boston who was attractive. And I thought, maybe it's time for me to be married again. So now I reinvented myself again. This is about the third or fourth reinvention. And I married a woman who for the next 14 years, I lived a nightmare. And you knew of the nightmare, right, Lynn? And Skip, I think, did you know her?
No, I
No?
don't think so.
Okay, you probably heard about her.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a nightmare, and after 14 years, I decided, I'm out of here. I was married to an active alcoholic. And during those 14 years, I figured, what can I do to help this woman? And I didn't know how to help someone who had a problem like that. So she was in and out of treatment centers, and they told me, well, you'll have to go to Al-Anon meetings and learn how to live with an active alcoholic. And I did that for a while, and I didn't want to live with
Hey,
an active alcoholic, so I left.
Right.
And I reinvented myself again, and I moved out of Albany, 30 miles south into the woods in a cabin that was about 10 feet by 10 feet. And Lynn, you were there, right?
yes, it was adorable.
I
You were
lived in
there?
a cabin.
Uh-huh,
You
we
checked
went-
it out?
We went there to visit once.
This is in White Deer or?
No, this was Honey Hollow.
Honey Hollow, okay.
Now, I said that I was gonna make this quick. I'm making it as quick as I
I've
can.
got this
Okay.
phone call.
So now I reinvented myself. I'm a long-haired hippie, living in the woods in a log cabin with Abby.
Okay.
Abby was a black Labrador retriever,
Okay.
and she was my roommate for several years.
Wow.
And then I decided,
One room cabin.
it was
Okay.
one room.
One bath, was there
It
a
was
bathroom?
one
or-
room, it had a shower, it had, the only heat was a wood-burning stove.
Yeah, that's perfect though. Is the
And
best heat.
I learned how to cut my own firewood.
Yeah.
And I'm known in the Guinness World Book of Records as the only Jewish male from Brooklyn who knows how to use a chainsaw proficiently.
All right.
And I was
I'm gonna look
proud.
that one up.
What?
I'm gonna look that up.
I was proud of that.
Yeah.
And I had a neighbor who lived in Albany, New York, 30 miles away. And he said, when are you going to go back to the construction field? You made good money. You were good at what you did. And I said, I don't want to go back to it. And he said, well, I'm going to hire you. And he ran a day treatment center in Albany, New York, where he treated alcoholics and drug addicts.
Okay.
And he said, Fred, you're going to come to work for me? And I said, well, I don't know what to do. He said, I'm going to teach you. And I started out working 2 nights a week now. For the 2 years that I lived in the cabin, I didn't work.
Right.
And I felt this is my retirement. And that when I eventually go back to work, I'll work until I die.
Okay.
But I was going to, that was my retirement.
Yeah.
Cutting firewood, living with Abby, and having a bunch of friends who were just a bunch of long-haired freaks. And I went to
When was
work
this?
for
This is like 19, what,
it
mid-90s?
was 1976,
Oh, 76, okay.
right. In, well, it was 74. In 76, I was burning the wrong kind of wood. I was burning fresh locust,
Okay.
which had a high creosote compound.
Oh, yeah, chimney
And I
fire.
had a chimney
territory.
fire, and I burned the cabin down,
Oh, no.
okay?
Ugh. But
Jim
you were able
Garrett-
to get out, no trouble for you.
No,
I mean, you knew
no.
what was going on.
It
was
went,
just-
the fire happened 3 o'clock in the morning. The
Oh,
local fire department showed up and they said, Fred, we only have enough water in our tanker, but we're not gonna save the cabin. What's inside that you would like saved? And there was a coffee table that I had bought in a flea market and refinished.
uh-huh.
I said, I want the coffee table, and I want my Dylan albums. And I
Okay.
had every album that Bob Dylan had recorded at
All
the
right.
time. And they got those out.
Wow.
And Jim Garrett hired me to work in his program, teaching a drinking driver program 2 nights a week. So after 2 years of not working and no income, I now earn $17.50 a night for 2 nights a week. So I got $35 a week salary.
Wow.
And I said, I don't know what to do. He says, I have a printed syllabus, you're gonna follow it. And these people are gonna come in who get arrested for DWI, and you're gonna run them through the routine for 6 weeks. And then a good friend of mine showed up there and he says, you too, huh? I said, no, I'm the instructor. And he said, well, just log me in for 6 weeks. I said, hell no. You're gonna come here for 6 weeks because I've known you for a few years and you're a danger. And he's no longer my friend, obviously. And then Jim moved me up to, as a full-time counselor. Are we running out of time?
No, we're good. I just wanted to make you
Okay, so
shifted. I
now I'm a
wanted to
full-time
Make sure you're
counselor.
good.
And he teaches me how to do intakes and what to say to people. And then after about 3 or 4 months, I said, Jim, I have a guy who I can't help. He needs to go to a rehab. Where do I send him? He said, look in that bin over there and you'll find brochures from rehabs. And I looked through a few of them and one of them had a picture of a deer on the cover. And it was called White Deer Run. So I
Okay.
said, Jim, I want to send this guy to White Deer Run. And he said, well, call him and tell him what the story is. And I called him. And I said, I have a man, he has insurance. And how can I get him into your program? They checked the insurance and they said, everything is good, Fred. We'll pick him up. Now, from Albany, New York to White Deer Run was a 6-hour drive.
Oh, okay.
And he said, we'll send a driver to pick him up. And he picked him up. The guy was there for 30 days. He came back to Albany, and he was doing really well.
Let me close that door.
Now my next guy showed up
Right.
who needed treatment. And I sent him to White Deer Run.
Okay.
They sent the driver to get him. And this went on for about 1.5 years. And at one time I called White
And
Deer.
so you're living in the one-room cabin, or no?
No, the
now
cabin
you're-
was
the cabin
burned to the
burnt down.
ground.
Yeah, so where
Now
are
I
you living
lived in
now?
Albany in Washington Park.
Okay, gotcha.
In a one-room,
An apartment or something.
a tenement, a walk-up, a
So you're
studio,
able to cover your rent with
studio
this,
apartment.
with
Yeah.
this teaching gig and
Yeah.
referral? Okay, yeah.
Okay, now I sent several people out there. Now I call White Deer Run again. I speak with the administrator. And I said, David, I have another admission for you. He says, Fred, I have a problem. I don't have a driver available. Would you drive him out? And I said, look, I drive an old Dodge Dart that used to belong to my father. And it's a wreck. I don't know if it'll even make that trip. He said, Dodge Dart is a good car, Fred. It'll make it. I'll pay your gas, your mileage, and I'd like you to spend a couple of days at the rehab and see what we do. I thought, hey, that's pretty nice. I'll make $50 in gas or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think that must have been when Jimmy Carter was in office and the prices went up or
76, yeah.
something.
77.
In any event, I went out there and I thought a drug and alcohol rehab that there'd be people sitting on the floor sticking needles in their arms. I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And they had me sitting in on group therapies and lectures. And I was pretty impressed. And it was time for me to leave to go back to my job in Albany. And David, I said, how do I get to see David? I need to get paid for my gasoline and my time. And I went into David's office and I said, David, I need to get back to my job, and you told me you were gonna pay me for my time and for gas. He said, Fred, look, I want you to know, I was dishonest with you. And I figured these people are supposed to be honest. He said, I was dishonest with you. I always have a driver, but I've heard some good things from the people that you sent us. I heard good things about you, and I wanted to meet you. So I'm gonna write you a check for $100 to get you back to Albany. And I want you to give 2 weeks' notice, and we're hiring you. I said, what? We're hiring you. I said, but I don't know what to do here. He says, you know what to do. And I said, well, what's the salary? $11,000 a year, Fred, plus room and board. You're gonna live on the facility. And they had these cabins that the patients lived in. They
Okay.
gave me a cabin. And I lived there for about 7 months. And then the 11,000 became 20,000
Okay.
after just several months. And within 2 years' time, I became the director of this 80-bed program.
Wow.
And now I had staff working for me.
Wow.
Okay,
That's a
now
calling.
I'm getting to the issue about Uncle Fred talks too much.
Okay.
Today, I'm 81 years old. And my mother, when I was a little kid, she lied to me about what year I was born in, because I don't believe I'm 81. And what I've done, I've reinvented myself so many times that I'm ready to reinvent myself again. At 75, when I retired, I went into a major depression because I missed my work. And now I've decided it's time to reinvent myself again. And then when this incident happened with my 3 nieces, or at least 2 of the 3, I realized why I talk so much. Number 1, I'm the oldest person in this family. I'm the patriarch. And I made an announcement about that a couple of years ago. And I
Yep.
think it was Thanksgiving at your home
Yep.
in
I
Wayne.
remember. Yeah. In Middletown. Yeah.
And I've reinvented myself again. And I've decided why these people think I talk too much, because I do. And the reason I talk so much is that I've been through more in my 81 years than all of the other members of the family. You're all kids as far as I'm concerned. And I have so much experience doing so many different things that all I have to do is sit down and Google in my head this experience, that experience, another experience, one marriage, another marriage, cars. I was telling you that I bought a car in 1962
Yeah.
that had front-wheel drive, and my brother Larry laughed at me. He said, who the hell would drive a car with front-wheel drive? Well, 5 years later, we found out everybody did. And I've done things that I'm sure that all of you in the family here have done many things. I think that I've done many more things because of my longevity. I'm an old guy.
A wise guy.
I'm an old
You're
guy.
an old wise guy.
However, I've had experiences, and whenever somebody says something, I can identify with it from some point in my life, from one of those lives that I've lived. And that's why I talk so much, because I feel I have a lot to offer you guys. I told you something about the Saab car that I bought.
Yep.
Well, it might have been you, Lynn, I don't remember now. And Larry, my brother, why would you drive a car that didn't have a drive shaft and front wheel drive? Because I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of things different. I've gone through, when I was living with people who were just normal earth people like you guys, and I decided I wanted to grow a ponytail down to my ass. So I did it. And people at work that I worked for over the years, they'd say, "You can't have a ponytail here." I said, "Why not?" He says, "Because that's against our dress code." I said, "What do you want? Do you want a haircut or do you want a good therapist?" And they hired me. I had other people who said to me, "We'd like to hire you, you have a good reputation, except we only hire non-recovering addicts. And 90% of the people who work in that field are recovering addicts.
Yeah.
I'm not." And the guy said, "I can't hire you, Fred." I said, "Look, mister, I don't know a damn thing about sticking a needle in my arm, but I've helped hundreds of people get needles out of their arms." He said, "You're hired."
Yeah.
That's something else I can stick back there to Google out some other day. And that's what all of my talking is about. I have so much information in it, I have to Google it in my head to bring it up. And that's my story.
It's a beautiful.
Okay.
You're a man who followed a calling. I mean, you were called to it. You sort of walked away from a whole.
Look,
Right.
at one point when I moved into Honey Hollow out in the woods, I planted my own food. I grew my own food. I learned how to cut firewood. I thought I was Henry David Thoreau.
Sounds like you were for a while.
Yeah, well, Henry David Thoreau stayed at
Walden Pond.
Walden Pond
Yep.
for 2 years. I stayed at Honey Hollow Pond for 26 months.
Wow.
And there were just different images of people, people who I experienced, who did things that I thought, wouldn't that be nice to do? And I said, oh hell, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
When I
Yeah.
moved to Albany, I went up to Albany, I didn't know what the hell Albany was, and I stayed there for, I don't know, 12 or 15 years. And then moving into the cabin, and buying strange cars, and getting married. Some of you don't know it. You've known 3 of my wives,
Right.
but I've been married 4 times.
Right, twice to the same person.
I married one of
Ah.
them twice, yes.
Wow.
And not too many people have done that,
Yeah.
okay? So I feel that was another experience.
Yeah.
Lubbock, Texas. What the hell would some Jewish kid from Brooklyn go to Lubbock, Texas for? And when I got there with a long ponytail, they'd say, "You damn Yankee, load up your U-Haul and go back to New York. We don't want any hippies here, and especially if they have ponytails and if they're Jews from New York." Well, I stayed there for 12 years.
Wow.
I don't
Well-
give a damn what Lubbock wanted. I know what I wanted. I wanted to be in Lubbock because I was in love.
Amen.
So,
Thank you,
and
Fred.
it's now I'm just going to end very briefly. I'm 81 and a half years old. My sister Dorothy is going to have a birthday in October. I'm not going to mention how young she's going to be, but she and I are the seniors in this family.
Patriarch and matriarch.
Yes, Yes. And from back when I was 21 years of age, I believed that I was going to live forever. I still think about that at times. I'm going to live a long time. Forever? Well, so far so good. Okay. Okay, that's it.
Amen.